Welcome to You Make the Difference. I'm Wanda Walker, and today I'm interviewing Zsa Hurd. She's the Executive Director of the LaGrange Housing Authority, and there are exciting things that are happening there that I'm sure you're going to be interested in knowing. Welcome to the show, Zsa.
Thank you, Miss Wanda.
Yes. Now tell me what your background is.
Well, my background actually is social work, psychology, and counseling. That's what my background is. I was teaching psychology at West Georgia Tech and Columbus State. So I was studying people, doing counseling, doing therapy, and teaching. That's my background.
Okay, and what made you decide to apply for the position of Executive Director of the Housing Authority?
Well, I don't know if nothing made me decide. I wasn't aware that it was available. I was asked by a couple of friends and church members, and they thought, well, it would be great if you applied, Zsa. And I'm thinking, no, I'm really happy at West Georgia Tech. I am. I mean, it was a joy to teach. It was fun. And I started thinking, that's not maybe what I want to do. So I did talk to my husband and asked him, and he said, well, yeah, you should apply. What do you have to lose? And then I said he should apply. So then I started to ask myself, what does the ED do, or the Executive Director do at the Housing Authority? Because I had no idea. So I did my research, I went online, and I called some friends who may have known some persons working in it, and then I took a chance and went to Tuskegee University and asked that Executive Director if she would spend some time with me and teach me all about what it is to be an Executive Director. And I did that one day, just drove to Tuskegee, she talked to me, I came back, shared it with my husband, and he said, well, I think you should apply. So that's when I decided, maybe this is something that God is trying to tell me, Zsa, now that voice that you're always talking about that other people need, That could be you. That could be where are you going to get that voice and speak for people whose voices are not heard sometimes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, so it's been almost a year.
Yes, May 1st will be 1 year.
And you're making great plans. Tell me
Yes.
what the plans are at the Housing Authority.
Well, our plans are to give better, affordable, efficient housing to our residents. That's our plan. We have just completed our RAD application, and that's referred to as a rental assistance demonstration. And that's where we send this application and we send it into HUD to state that we want to change the look of our properties. Basically, we want to demolish the property. Those
Yes.
units that you currently see will no longer exist. We will demolish those units. And when we say demolish only means we will remove the units, not the residents. The residents will be relocated, meaning we have funds that will be given to us that we pay. I think it's maybe $2,000 per resident to relocate them to a temporary facility, temporary housing. Then once the housing is complete on, say, Ben Hill, and that's the one located on Chatham and off of Whitesville Road, we will relocate them back to their homes. We can't say original because once people start to build and we build new roads, 201 may not be in the same place, but you will be relocated back to that position. We now know that we need to operate more like a private sector. We're funded by the federal government, so funding gets decreased by Congress a lot of times. But if we were to go RAD, it increases our funding and the chances that we can really provide some new more efficient, like making sure they have a washer and dryer, making sure that things are efficient, energy efficient appliances, possibly granite top, hardwood floors in those apartments. We want to be able to do that, but it costs money.
Yes.
So we chose to go RAD, do rental assistance demonstration, and now we're just waiting on the approval to receive it to say that we actually can do that.
Okay, and so once all of this is done, how will it be different in the LaGrange Housing Authority? How will those apartments be different than they are now?
Well, the look will be different for sure. They'll look different. We don't know if it'll be hardy plank that will be on the outside of it. We don't know if it'll be paneling, but it will look different for sure. The one thing that it will do, we will relocate people 30 to 40 households at a time. So where you see at the Ben Hill property, where we have the 238 units, you may see it in 30 to 40 breakups, where you may see 4 or 5 apartments, or you may see a nice family style home there. It's gonna look different. The inside is gonna look different. It's gonna be energy efficient in the inside to where their utilities will decrease tremendously. Right now, our residents' utilities, they are very expensive because our units are very old, they're not insulated properly. So then it'll change that way. And making sure our residents come to some type of self-sufficiency. Our residents need to know that, yes, now you're going to be required to go to work. You're going to have to be required to work so many hours in a week or a month. It doesn't always apply to our persons that may have disabilities because they won't be under those guidelines. But if you're able to work, those things will change. The look will change. The programs will change. It'll be lots of self-sufficiency for our residents, making sure they're a part of our community. They're productive citizens.
Right. And you know, I've seen a lot of changes over there. Just riding by during Christmas, it was decorated so nicely.
Yes.
So you were doing a lot of things within the Housing Authority to improve it. Tell me about some of those things.
Well, the first thing is to empower the residents. They've got to be empowered and know this is where you live. You know, I go home and I feel comfortable. I'm at home, I'm relaxed. I want my residents to feel the same way. I want them to know this is where you live. This is where you live. You should be at peace. It should be comfortable. So we were very proud to decorate the property. You know, we heard the kids talk about it, even the residents, how it made them feel better. Then we did a door decorating contest at the same time where residents got involved and they decorated their doors and we made it a competition and it was fun. Also, we have a new resident services program manager, and that's Chad Cooper. So we're taking people to get their GEDs at West Georgia Tech. We're transporting children to their daycare like they need to. We're taking people to job interviews, to doctor's appointments. Mental health, we've seen that we need some mental health facilities there, so we want to outsource and offer that to our residents. One of the residents in particular asked, you know, I have trouble with my back, and several of women we've met and we've talked, what about us going to swimming, to do some water aerobics? So we're going to make sure they're able to do that. The children are now going to more plays so they can learn how a play is and how to dress up. We have an after-school program where they're learning reading, English, math, and science every day. They're being tutored by retired teachers at the program. So we have an array of programs that we're changing there, and we just want to make it fulfilling for them so that they're self-sufficient.
All right, is that West Georgia Star?
Yes, that's West Georgia Star.
When did that start?
Now, West Georgia Star was implemented before I got there, and I think it was implemented in 2013, where we had a nonprofit organization. That's our nonprofit organization, to where we actually can bring in more services there. And also it's a way of we can bring in some funding and receive donations from persons so we can have funding at the program. But they are able to bring in and outsource a lot of our resources because we are held by federal guidelines or federal regulations, but our nonprofit is able to say resource something out, and we can possibly, you know, talk to West Georgia Tech and say, you know, could you all come over and teach a class, because our residents don't have transportation, and they could actually teach our class at our property there.
Okay, tell me some of the challenges that you have had since you started at the Housing Authority.
Well, I think my biggest challenge has been trying to make the community understand that we're not there to throw out our residents, meaning we're not there to make sure or they don't have a place to stay. That concept started from, I think, the Atlanta Housing Authority when they started to change and renovate and do a lot of things. A lot of those residents were not, they couldn't return. I don't know if they couldn't return, weren't able, but they did put in a lot of new regulations that didn't allow them to return. According to RAD, Rental Assistance Demonstration, we have to offer them the opportunity to come back to that property. We have to. It's mandated. So we have to give them a choice. Say, you know, hey, this is now the new property. Would you like to stay or would you like to go somewhere else? It has to be given to them. So making them understand that that's not what we're there to do, to throw out people because they don't work, because they're not adding to something. We are there to make sure they become self-sufficient. You know, we should be concerned as a community. You know, we have a property that maybe a lot of people don't work, but that has been the hardest thing, the negativity of we're just going to throw people out and we don't care about them. That is not true.
Yes, and you've overcome those challenges by communicating and letting them get to know you and also know your heart, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
I make it an open door policy. Residents are always free to come to my office to ask for me. My cell phone number is available. You know, they're always welcome. I want to hear the good, the bad, because if I don't know what's happening, I can't do anything about it. The concerns, I want to know what's going on. I want to know when we're not doing something right. You know, I can't guarantee that I'm going to get every single thing right, but I'm certainly going to make sure my intent is to get it right. And if I don't get it right, I fix it, I correct it.
Okay, now tell me about DASH. For those who don't know, who are watching the program, it means dependable, affordable, sustainable housing. Okay, tell me how the Housing Authority and DASH differ.
Well, DASH has been around long before I started, but DASH is also a nonprofit organization, and they can do a lot of affordable housing. They probably operate off a lot of donations, or they do a lot of low-income tax projects in the community where they can. Now, I think the biggest difference is we're mandated by federal regulations to where we have to make all of our housing be based off subsidy, and we have to do it based off person's income. Where DASH, they may not have to do that. They could build affordable housing, and they could say a certain portion of the persons will be based off their income, where we have all these guidelines where 30% have to meet the area median income in our apartment. So our federal regulations are huge. We have a lot of housekeeping inspections. Like, we have to do housekeeping inspections. We can't allow you to have your apartment a certain way. We can't allow you, we have trouble people dumping grease in their backyards.
Yes.
We can't do that. If you don't have your utilities connected, we can evict you for that. We are a drug-free zone. If you have an incident with drugs, you are evicted immediately. There is no turning around. So there are a lot of regulations that we have to follow, and we are mandated by an ACOP. It's basically our lease.
Yes.
This is our lease. So all of our lease is about 30 pages.
Wow.
30 pages.
And tell me, how is the LaGrange Housing Authority rated? And tell me what your rating is.
Now, we're rated by what we call REACT. That's our Real Estate Assessment Center.
Yes.
Where they come out and they actually score our property. They have to make sure, like on the outside boxes where we have some of our utilities, that there's a black tie on it. If there's not a black tie on that box, we'll get hit and they'll deduct points.
Yes.
We have to make sure our sidewalks are properly maintained. We can't have any cracks in our sidewalks. We have to fix that up. Next week, well, in a couple of weeks, all of the staff, according to Mr. Pickett, our facilities director, we have to go out on the property, and we're going to do this holding hand exercise. And it's not an exercise. Actually, we're going to stand in a line, and we all have to look and find all the pieces of glass that are in our grass or on our property. We cannot have glass on our property.
Yes.
Or we'll be fined.
Wow.
Right now, we're a high performer at the Ben Hill property and Lucy Morgan. We want to maintain high performance. We don't want to be standard. If you're substandard, you're in trouble.
Yes.
That means that they can send someone in to take over your housing authority. But we are actually a high performer on both properties. So those things have to be maintained. We can't have people's vent hoods. It can't have a lot of grease on it. The stove, all the eyes have to work. We have to check them. They have to be turned on. And they come in and they assess us and they score us. And right now we're a 98.
Yes,
out of 100.
And that affects your funding, right?
Yes, if we're a high performer, our funding increases.
Yes.
We get more funding. So we want to stay a high performer. We want to maintain that budget that we have so that allows us to do projects like we need to do them. When we need to fix things on the property, we have the proper amount of money to do it.
So now you're thinking about building outside of the Housing Authority. Tell me about that.
Well, right now we're trying to make sure we have to, according to HUD, put back 420 units. In 1953, they were given 420 units. We have to give back 420. But we also can build more units outside of that 420 with some funding, if we get some funding. So we're out looking at properties in the community. Like, we would love to put some housing downtown.
Yes.
We want to help and be a part of building downtown LaGrange. Tom Hall, the city manager, sent us the property of the Colonial Hotel to look at it and possibly turn it into housing, lofts, apartments that people can actually rent here. We are also looking at Veterans Village to possibly put some multifamily housing there, some mixed income, so families can live there, so that we open up a housing stock that's to the entire community, more affordable housing. You know, we want everybody to say, we would love to live here, and it's through the Housing Authority.
Yes.
But anybody can apply and do that, so we want to make sure we're securing properties or homes that we can turn into housing for the community.
Yes. Now tell me your role as it compares to the city's role in providing housing.
Well, we have an ACC contract with the city. That's what HUD established with the city. So the city, we would love to partner with them where they can give us some partnerships to say, hey, we do like that Colonial Hotel. How could you partner with us? It could be the infrastructure. It could possibly give us money to help us renovate that particular property. They're forming partnerships. We have a resident services program, and what we want to do, we want to be able to bring in more programs for the residents. Could they possibly partner with us, and we want to provide some mental health counseling to our residents?
Yes.
Like the LaGrange Art Museum. We want to be able to partner with them so that we can send our children to do arts. I met with Karen Briggs on yesterday, and we found out that they have lots of programs that our children may be interested in, but we need funding for it. So we would love for the city to partner and say, hey, this is a great venture. We're partnering with the LaGrange Art Museum, and
yes.
our residents, our children can go over there and learn arts, the ones that want to learn arts. Because I'm just big to say all of our children won't want to play sports, and that's okay. But there are arts, there are other things that they can do. So we would love to see those partnerships formed.
Yes, and there's so many services, excuse me, in the community that want to engage young people and children in their programs. And in the Housing Authority, you have many children, many young people that they can connect with. So I see it as a networking and a connecting that you'll be doing.
Right.
Now talk to me about the security at the Housing Authority.
Well, we're proud. We now have new security cameras, a new security system. We applied for a security and safety grant through HUD, and we won the grant. We were the only ones in Georgia that won the grant. There were other places that won, but we were the only one in Georgia that won that safety and security grant. I think they had talked about cameras long ago, putting up security cameras, and finally they're there. They're in operation, and we have been working with the city, and I consider it a partnership, and we give the police department full access to our cameras. The policeman will be able to see, or the policewoman will be able to see their cameras from their cars, their cell phones, or they're welcome to come into the office and view it on our monitor. So we were able to put up at least 20 plus cameras on each property. And some of those cameras align Whitesville Road, some align Hanley Street, where we can see what's happening. They've used the camera in several instances to solve crimes, to see what happened, car accidents.
Yes.
And things like that, people that shouldn't be on our property. We have a way of viewing the car tag. So if somebody speeds off our property, we can get their car tag and submit it over to the police department. So we are very proud that we were able to do that. They're in our buildings where our children are, so our children are now safer during those programs. But we're now able to make our residents safer. And again, we don't want to be in our residents' business. We want to make it safe. And we are also required by HUD to have some type of safety on our property. We have to do that. So we are also in the process of getting a safety director, where we'll have our own director on our property. They'll monitor the cameras, they'll work with the police department, they'll get things done, they'll work with residents and making sure that you are properly having the proper gas, decals on cars. All those things keep the housing authority safe. And again, it's not our residents that creates all the crime, it's the people that come in to the housing authority that's creating the crime.
Yes, and so expand on that a little bit, because I had heard that. Tell me about that.
Well, Officer Butler, Jeremy Butler, is the officer that we are in contact with, but we're all in contact with whoever's on duty when they're there.
Yes.
But he would come to our board meetings and give reports on the crimes on our property and in that surrounding area. And what we found out was the crime was coming from the outside of the community, persons that do not live there, persons that do not reside there. They're either, like if they're running from the police, they run to our property, or they have to be chased on our property. A lot of times they'll just go to an apartment, serve a warrant, and some of those persons that maybe have a warrant are in that apartment for some reasons. And yes, we've had residents that sometimes hide out someone that they're trying to keep from the police.
Maybe
but it's not the resident.
People. Yeah.
It may be a relative, but it's rarely our residents that are committing the crimes. It's other people that actually walk off the street, drive onto the property, that actually create the crime.
Yeah, so you've done a lot to bring protection into the housing authority.
Yes, to make them safe. We want to hear from the residents, and we need for the residents also to talk to us. If you know of something that's going on our property and it shouldn't be, we got to hear about it.
Yes.
You know, our residents, for some reason, sometimes they tell us they don't want to be snitches, or they don't want people to know that they were the ones that reported to the police. We always encourage, call 911 if you see something going on. You know, go inside of your apartment. They won't know, and your information is confidential when you share it with the police department, but they've got to let us know. So when they say they see things, we need their help, like the murder that occurred.
Yes.
We still have no leads to what happened or who did it, but we were really hoping that a resident would come forward if they saw it and report it to the police department.
Tell me how the residents within the housing authority have responded to your leadership.
Now, I think it's been a good response. I haven't had all positives, but I've had a lot of positive. I've had a lot of thank yous. We need it. They love the change. They're grateful to it. I just had a lady call me the other day and say, you know, I've never received a birthday card, because we send out birthday cards to each resident
Yes.
each month. They've never received a Christmas card. So they're thankful to the programs. They're thankful that they can come in and see and meet with me and talk when they get ready. Now, have had negatives that, you know, I said that we're going to enact a rule that our residents are going to have to work a certain amount of hours each week. And we've had people come in to say that's not fair, you shouldn't be made to work. What if I don't want to work? You know, the key to that is making persons self-sufficient.
Yes.
It's not to punish you or hurt you, but it's just like you and I. We go to work, and we need to go to work, you know, because we need to pay bills,
right,
or our mortgage. And it's the same way, you know, we have to give them something that they can look forward to. And working is one of those things that we just know makes persons better.
Yes. Yeah. How do you feel that your background in psychology has helped you in the work that you do at the Housing Authority?
Initially, I thought it wouldn't. I wouldn't use it at all. I thought, I've never used psychology or my therapy skills, but it really has helped me, because now I understand why someone behaves the way that they do,
yes,
and why persons may think the way that they do. And that's what psychology is, understanding behaviors and mental processes. So it puts me in a place where sometimes I do have to just put myself in that young lady's shoes and understand why, school came and I really wanted to buy my children school clothes, so I probably didn't bring y'all that other $50 to pay the rent.
Yes.
Because it was important how her son looked. And to know that, sometimes they may be bullied, so you try to make them look better. So you think, well, if I just take that 50 and buy some clothes or some shoes, then maybe the housing authority would understand. I've been able to understand some of those behaviors. Some I don't understand because I am from a different place, and I just have always been taught you have to work. If you want things in life, you have to work for it. It's never going to be given to you. And some things you do earn, but you also have to work to make things be earned to you.
Yes,
given
you do.
To you.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. So I'm able to understand some of it, and I always try to make sure that if I'm with the resident and have an opportunity, that I educate them in some way as to why, let's understand why you didn't bring in the $50.
Yes.
Let's understand why maybe you should have budgeted. Maybe, school was out in May, and maybe you could have put back $10 every week up until school started. So we make it a teachable moment. We don't want to just, be mean and say, well, just bring us our $50, but we kind of have to get a picture and understand. So education is big for me, and not enforcing a lot of rules. We're talking about sometimes persons that may not have a lot, or they may have a lot of circumstances that I don't experience.
Yes.
But I have to realize that putting 20 rules will not necessarily make a person change. But maybe in front of the rule, educating them and trying to make them understand this is why we may have to implement the rule. So many people have broken it now, and it's being abused. So now guess what? We have to put this rule in place.
Yes.
So it's to teach, to educate, to make them self-sufficient, add some value to their lives. And my staff know it's very important. My residents are important. When they come in, I've told them two things. You can make or break our residents. Your job is not to break them. Your job is to say something that so when they walk back out of their door, they feel different than when they came in, because you never know when they're coming in. And never take it personal. That if they come in screaming, it's not because of you. It's probably something that happened prior to them walking into the door.
It surely is. And then I also have noticed that the Housing Authority is more involved in what's happening in the community and attending meetings like the Homeless Coalition, and I was at the Trauma Awareness Banquet last night, and Anitha was there, So tell me how you've done that and what your heart is about getting more involved in the community.
One reason is to remove the stigma of what people think the housing authority is. We're not a handout. We don't feel entitled. We have plenty of residents that work, some go to school. But I know from being from LaGrange, people have talked about, it's a bad place, don't go near that place. So I want us to be viewed as just another business,
Yes.
just like any other business in town, just like Dash, just like anything, just like Delavant. We want to be viewed like that we're a business, we provide affordable housing, and you're able to come to our property and view it. But how will people know if they don't know who we are? If they don't know that we do care about trauma? We experience trauma at the Housing Authority with residents. So we want to be involved in that. Like, all of my staff have been trained in darkness to light.
Yes.
So we thought that was important. Say, I'm familiar with how children may be abused or may be molested because of my field. But what about my maintenance guy that may not know that? But what if he's out on the property and he's in an apartment and he may notice something? Now he knows how to identify abuse.
Yes.
So that he can report it properly and children are protected. So I want us to be offered trainings. Like, now we're a part of the early bird breakfast and we go and we attend, and I make sure staff is there. So if it's something they need to know, they do. They attended a conference that they had, and it was on how to be a leader and leadership that they offered. And I thought it was important to send most of my staff there because we are leaders. They are leaders and they should know. But I want us to be viewed as not the bad place in LaGrange.
No.
I want to be, we're just a business and we just happen to be located on Whitesville Road.
Yes, and you're offering a resource to the community that's very much needed with affordable housing.
Yes.
But then you are taking that a step further. I don't know if that was always like in the federal plan or not, but to develop the people within the community, and that the West Georgia Star is part of that.
Yes.
And I'd like for you to explain that a little bit more. What does West Georgia Star do, and what is the benefit to the people who live in the Housing Authority?
Well, West Georgia Star provides all resident services. Anything that we can provide to the residents, West Georgia Star does. So it could be something that, like we said, mental health counseling. It could be, we could go and attend with a parent at an IEP at their school. We could go and do that. Now, that's what we should have been doing, making our residents self-sufficient, making them productive citizens. It should have been going on all along. And now also, resident services, what we have, the people in the community, their children can come to our after-school program. They can come to any of our programs that we actually offer, but we offer them to our residents first, free of charge. But persons are able to come, like they're able to come on our property and use our community building for weddings, baby showers. We've had some repasts held there. So people are able to come there on our property and use it just like if they rented Delavant.
Yes.
They can do that. But resident services is supposed to have an array of services that we provide. Like now we got a community garden, thanks to Eric Simpson's. That we heard the residents, we want a community garden, so he's building one and the children will participate.
Yes. It sounds very exciting at the Housing Authority.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much going on. I'd
is.
like to hear your 5-year plan, but I think that we're going to have to wind up our show.
Okay.
Yeah, but thank you so much for coming and sharing.
Yes.
And I would just like to say to those that are watching that I hope you have learned something today about the Housing Authority, and I hope you'll watch us again next week.
It's a year of repleven. Got a promise from heaven.